All right, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack what was, without a doubt, one of the most stunning, absolute roller coaster days in recent track and field history. I mean, rarely do we ever see an athlete hit the absolute pinnacle of human speed and then suffer a shocking defeat in the exact same afternoon. It's crazy. So let's break down the timeline, crunch the data, and get to the bottom of the mystery behind what actually happened to Noah Lyles at the 2026 USA National Championships. Kicking things off with Section 1, a championship to remember. Before we even get to the main mystery of the day, we've got to establish just how ridiculously fast the track was running. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. We saw Cooper Lukenhaus completely cement his legacy, arguably as the greatest teenage runner in history, by taking the men's 800 meters. And then, Sha'Carri Richardson threw down a scorching 10.77 to win the women's 100, proving she's the fastest American. The conditions were just ripe for something historic. Which brings us to Section 2, making 100-meter history. Because history is exactly what we got. What Noah Lyles did in the men's 100-meter semifinal was just out of this world. It represented the literal peak of human performance. He dropped a jaw-dropping 9.76. Now, he did do this with a slight 2.1 meters per second tailwind. That's just a hair over the allowable limit of 2.0, so, it won't officially rewrite the record books. But as a pure statement of raw speed, it was completely undeniable. And when we break down the race data, the final 40 meters are just staggering. He closed faster than anyone else in recorded history. I mean, his pace was matched only by Usain Bolt's actual world record pace. His top-end speed in that latter half of the race was operating at a purely legendary level. And by dipping under that 9.80 mark twice in just a 2-hour period, Lyles joined a wildly exclusive club. He solidified his legendary status alongside only Asafa Powell and Fred Kerley as the absolutely only athletes to ever pull off this staggering feat in a single day. Think about that for a second. Now, let's get into Section 3, the 200-meter mystery. Coming off that historic high, pretty much everyone viewed Lyles as a massive threat to break his own American record in the 200 meters. I mean, he just coasted to a 20.5 in his opening heat, and that was straight into a headwind. But in the final, the entire stadium experienced total whiplash. Instead of some blistering sub-19-second run, Lyles crossed the finish line in last place with a stunningly slow time of 50.88 seconds. You could literally hear a collective gasp go through the crowd. Now, Garrett Calland of USC ran a fantastic 20.04 to secure his first ever national title, which is huge for him. But honestly, despite Calland's incredible milestone, every single eye in the stadium was just glued to the clock and the track. Everyone was wondering, what in the world just happened to the fastest man in America? So the crucial question we have to ask ourselves here is, how on earth do you go from running a 9.76 to a 50.88? Our immediate thought was some kind of catastrophic injury. Did he completely collapse on the track and have to get back up? Because the visual of a world champion jogging a 50-second 200-meter dash is, frankly, almost impossible to process. Moving on to Section 4, what actually happened? Well, post-race interviews quickly painted a picture of that razor-thin margin between peak performance and physical breakdown. Thankfully for Lyles, it wasn't a tear or anything crazy. He just felt a slight cramp coming on right around the 100-meter mark of the curve. And in a split second, he made a really smart veteran calculation. Taking the win just wasn't worth risking a severe, season-ending injury. So he completely backed off the gas. It was super obvious he wanted the win. But as this quote reveals, even the most elite athletes out there sometimes underestimate their own physiological limits. He actually said, running 9.7 twice in a single day took a lot more out of me than I realized. The massive nervous system drain of going sub-980 twice in an afternoon just caught up to him. His body threw up a giant warning sign, and he smartly listened. Interestingly enough, this whole humbling moment brought a real touch of reflection. Lyles admitted this experience actually gave him a newfound respect for Usain Bolt. Remember, Bolt used to routinely run these world-beating times twice in a single day during major championships, and then he'd still show up and completely dominate the 200-meter finals just a few days later. It really highlights how alien Bolt's endurance and recovery actually were. And that brings us to Section 5, the ultimate question. Because Lyles didn't technically lose this race to a lack of sheer speed, he views it more as a missed opportunity, which sets up a super compelling narrative for the rest of 2026. He stated he is switching his focus solely to the 200 meters for the remainder of the year. But it really leaves us wondering about his overarching strategy moving forward. Should he attempt that incredibly demanding 100 and 200 meter double again at the upcoming Ultimate Champs? Or should he learn from this cramp and stick exclusively to his specialty? That, my friends, is the ultimate mystery we are left with today. We absolutely know the superhuman speed is there in the 100 meters. But if he channels all of that recovery and focus strictly into the 200, just how fast can he actually go? Are we going to see a new American record at the Ultimate Champs? Or is the human body simply not built to sustain that much electricity? Well, I highly recommend you keep watching the track this season to find out.